Hello, I'm Brian Fox. Welcome to I Hate Rock Music, and a real treat for me today. And this band is as obscure as they get. It's another one of those bands that only put out 99 copies of their record in a plain white sleeve, most copies, on the SRT label. And so, of course, originals are insanely rare. I think one copy went for about $5,000 at one point. So the band Collusion out of the UK in 1971, and it makes me think of the Cycle album or the Dark album. Of course, there's even fewer copies of the album The Dark, but we have great reissues of it now. But that Cosmic Clouds album by Cycle is another one that's really hard to pigeonhole and just has a really unique sound. And it was also another record that there's only 100 copies. And this Collusion album is a little rough recording in some ways, but it was recorded in one day in 1969, and there's few overdubs on it, and they apparently did gig quite a bit, and so I can't imagine what this band would have sounded like live. So the band notably had a female singer named Sandy Baker, who's really wonderful. But the full band is Sandy Baker on vocals, Tony Davison on vocals, Mick West on guitar, who wrote most of the material, Steve Webb on second guitar, Chris Simons on bass, and Colin Victory on drums. And boy, they have it all. Interesting, unusual chord progressions, interesting, different, complex time signatures, amazing arrangements. The two guitar work is particularly stunning because their music is so interesting and really relies on two guitars doing a lot of really interesting, complex work, playing off each other and then locking up into dual guitar parts, which really sound wonderful. Really, totally unique record. As I mentioned, Sandy Baker is a really cool vocalist, and Tony Davison sounds like a great vocalist too. And then when both of them do harmonies, it's pretty great. But I was really happy that Sandy Baker is such a good vocalist on her own right, and really adds an interesting dimension to this record, particularly because a lot of it's kind of heavy, not in the usual sense of heaviness with big slabby riffs, but just this interesting guitar tapestry they create. And they also have a really great rhythm section. They'd have to keep up with this material because the arrangements are so complex. And so there's a little bit of uh, some folk elements to it. And I think three, four of the songs have a really interesting folk influence to them. And there's, as I mentioned, there's great harmonies, and the guitar work is just unforgettable. The song "The Way It Used to Be" just has a gorgeous, gorgeous melody, and that's one of the things that makes this record so strong. It just has beautiful melodies, they're very memorable, and the way it used to be, Sandy Baker's vocals are just gorgeous. And then towards the end, it has super complex guitar interplay, and the drums and bass are just stunning. And the last song, Bluebirds, is one of the longer songs on the record, 8 minutes long. And once again, it has a very gorgeous female vocal. It's a little more conventional for them, pretty rocking, but two guitars soloing, and they really show that they have chops. A lot of the record, they have to have chops to play it because it's so complex, but they didn't do a lot of grandstanding. There's really cool solos here and there, but by the time they get to that last song, Bluebirds, um, the two guitar work and the soloing is just stunning. And once again, really complex interplay and that really cool electric folky element that the band has. But sometimes when I listen to it, I hear little bits of Steel I Span. I hear little bits of High Tide. I hear little bits of Pato. I hear little bits of Wishbone Ash. Wishbone Ash. I hear a little bit of Kevin Ayers. I hear a little bit of Higginbottom's Wrench. I hear a little Jefferson Airplane. I hear a little Possessed. So there's a lot of things in there that kind of remind me of a lot of really interesting, cool bands out there, but they don't sound like anybody else, and they only hint at a lot of those bands that I mentioned. So Collusion, fortunately in this day and age, of course, we have a great reissue of this I think both on CD and LP. And as usual, the link is posted below. So for you more adventurous listeners out there that like really idiosyncratic, complex music with cool arrangements, odd time signatures, interesting chord progressions, and a lot of just really dynamic guitar tapestries, boy, this one is a stunner. One of my favorite records of 1971. So check it out, Collusion. I'm Brian Fox. Thanks for watching my channel.